As President Trump continues on the first international trip of his presidency, back at home, the White House unveiled his new budget for the 2018 fiscal year. Part of that budget plans to slash State Department funding, including weapons grants for foreign allies. Getting rid of those grants will make it harder for partner nations to buy weapons from the U.S. and receive American military training. These proposed cuts come on the heels of a landmark arms sale to Saudi Arabia in the amount of $110 billion. Let's bring in CBS News State Department reporter Kylie Atwood. She's in our Washington bureau. So, Kylie, you've been reporting on this. Can you give us more detail? What exactly does the president's budget plan spell out for the State Department's foreign military financing program?
Well, I think it's important to understand what we're talking about here. So these foreign military assistant grants basically allow the U.S. foreign policy to bolster the military capabilities of countries where the U.S. sees strategic interest. And so they can, try and strengthen the Navy of a certain country, or they can help them with their counter ISIS strategy. And so this has traditionally been a really useful tool for the State Department. And this change will now take these grants and turn them into loans. And what that means is that it's a lot harder for these countries to get the weapons that they might need. And the expectations are that they would receive these weapons. So it's going to be a serious issue for State Department officials who are working on the front lines with these countries.
If these cuts go through, which countries would be affected most by this, Kylie?
Well, the top recipients of foreign military financing are Israel, Egypt, and Jordan. And the State Department has said that those countries won't be touched. They will get the aid that they have been receiving over the past few years. Now, Pakistan is one country that is going to be cut more than in half the amount that they receive. And so essentially what that means is that Pakistan's Navy and Air Force and military are all going to be affected by this decrease. And the State Department internal memo that was circulating talking about these cuts actually said that it's going to specifically hurt Pakistan in fighting materials and personnel that come in along the coast of that country. Now, there are also another whole host of countries, more than dozens of countries that have been receiving these grants that are going to get zero. And that means that they are no longer going to be able to do a number of things that they have done. And one of those, one of the most critical, is help the U.S. in fighting terrorism. And so there are countries in Northern Africa. So Cameroon and Chad were two examples that were laid out to me as countries that are fighting Boko Haram. And without this U.S. military grant, they're going to have a hard time in carrying out the capabilities that they have done in the past.
And give us some big picture context here, Kylie. What is the significance here for U.S. interests? What are the potential consequences of replacing these arms grants to partner countries with these arms loans?
Well, first of all, a lot of folks say these countries aren't going to want to flip a switch. They're not going to want to say, hey, sure, we'll turn this grant into a loan, because they'll be worried about the costs that are associated. And as a result, they'll turn to other countries. So think Russia. Think China. That's what one State Department official said to me. And he was very weary when he described that reality, because those countries stepping in is something that puts the U.S. at a disadvantage. The other thing that they're worried about is the fact that these countries will become more accommodating to certain groups if they can't fight those groups. So think about places where terrorist cells are starting to develop. If the countries can't fight them, then they might be accommodating to them. And then the third case where this could be really detrimental to U.S. foreign policy is on behalf of U.S. diplomats abroad. So ambassadors who are really focused on maintaining a good relationship with the host country that they're in and the U.S. Well, now one of their tools is going to be pulled out from underneath their feet, and as they're trying to work with the country, it'll make it a lot harder.
So given what you just spelled out then, Kylie, what's been the reaction to these proposed cuts among officials there at the State Department?
State Department officials since day one of this administration have been worried about their strategic input being removed from decision making at the foreign policy front. So they're worried that they're not going to be there to talk about all of the different repercussions that come with giving these foreign countries weapons. And when DOD does that, it's very different, right? So when the State Department is giving weapons, they are kind of holding the hand of the host country. And they do that very strategically. They are conscious of that decision because they want to say, do you have the capability to have this weapon? Can we help you in using this weapon? And can we help you maintain this arsenal? But one interesting thing to point out here is the fact that this isn't a done deal, right? It still has to go up to the Hill. And today, when the department announced that this was going to be a 31% cut to the State Department budget, we heard senators saying, oh my gosh, this isn't okay. Senator Lindsey Graham actually said that this could cause a lot of Benghazis. And that's a pretty bold statement. And then you had Democratic Senator Cardin say that this is something that is a slap in the face to all American personnel who work every day to keep this country safe. And he also warned that it would slash, foreign operations assistance and make the world more dangerous. So it doesn't look like it's going to exist, this plan, as it is today.
Right. Congress ultimately controls the purse strings. State Department reporter Kylie Atwood in Washington. Thanks very much. We appreciate your reporting.
Thanks, Elaine.